Excuse me. So Dan Campbell was supposed to be on at 10 a.m. Schedule is changed to 11 a.m. So there's no guarantees on when this man is actually going to hit the stage. But I figured it would be kind of fun to see who wanted to join in and watch it at the same time. So as soon as Dan Campbell hits the stage, I'm going to share the screen. I don't think that there's going to be any issues with YouTube, but we'll find out. I guess I really haven't done this a whole lot. I mean, with the press conferences during the season, we've done it, been no issues. So we'll see what happens. So let's take some bets, right? How many times is Dan Campbell going to say grit? Over or under 3? That's my first question. Over or under 3 times he mentions the word grit. Peter Van Laren says, hey, thanks for sharing. And he says over on 3. All right. Here's the next question. Over or under fit? Because I guarantee you he's going to say the word fit at some point throughout this press conference. I'm really just doing this kind of for humor. Like, I'm interested to see, obviously, what he has to say. But as we know, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, these guys say a whole lot of nothing. They fill a lot of space, a lot of air. They say a lot of words, but at the end of the day, it doesn't tell us, what we really want to know. We have to figure out, go back, rewind it, listen to it a few times, watch the face and figure out, okay, what's he trying to say here? I know I'm weird, but those are the things. I love psychology, and those are just some of the things that I look forward to. So, all right, we're over 3 on the word grit. Over under lion culture. There's a good one, Peter. Lion culture. That's another good word. So over under. Well, why don't we just say this? Is he going to say the word culture? Is he going to say the word fit? And over or under how many times he says the word grit? 3. Does he mention Jalen Reeves-Maybin? Does he talk about the contract and why Jalen is such a good culture guy, good fit guy, represents the grit? We'll see. I think he does mention something to it, because I can't imagine that if there's press here today that are going to be asking him questions, they're probably going to ask about Jalen Reeves-Maybin. So I'm really interested to hear what he has to say. The media session, according to Detroit Lions, is underway. They have officially started. And as of right now, it is not up. Like I said, I'll share it as soon as it gets up. Any luck on my scouting dreams? I don't know, man. It's a dream, right? We all dream. Like I've always told my kids, never, ever stop dreaming. Never stop putting in the work. I don't care if you fail, right? You've got to fail to succeed in life. And I have failed so many times in my life, and I'm okay saying that, because it gets you to a point in life where you can start to have success and you learn from your failures. If you don't learn, then you're just going to continue to fail with no substance. So to answer your question, Peter, I would love to be a scout someday. I have a lot of work to do, a ton of work to do. I need to find a mentor, believe it or not. I believe that mentorship is huge. I've always attached myself to good people and learned from good people, try to be a sponge. And that's what I'm doing, right now is, even in the journalistic world, I'm trying to find even someone that can mentor me a little bit to help me get better. There's a lot of things that you have to learn in life. And I think the most important thing you have to learn in life is you are not the best at what you do. Strive to be the best and continue to work hard. That's all you can do in life, is continue to work hard. I live by the motto of, the most successful people in the world are usually too busy to realize it. They have no idea that they've arrived. So, all right, looks like he is live, and we're going to bring him in now.
Like for me, it's the.
I'll rewind it just a little bit.
Like for me.
I want to hear the first question.
Just open it up for questions.
So we've clearly missed something already. If he's already opened it up for questions.
Like for me, it's the. really the interview process to get with these guys is what I really look forward to. And because you're going to be able to see them work out, you're going to see the combine, the pro days, watch the tape, but to be able to just kind of get a feel of their personality, their FBI, the problem solving, things of that nature. That's the real benefit, I know, for me.
You guys aren't the only organization that does this, but can you just explain philosophically why the draft development design approach is right for you guys?
When are they going to fix the sound? That is my biggest complaint. Like, I work really hard on my sound. When are they going to fix their sound? We can't hear any of the questions. This is why I need to be there. All right, we'll keep rolling. First question was, what emphasis does he put into the combine? What does he get the most out of? And it's the interviews. And we spoke to that this morning and last night. The interviews are the most important part. You're going to see these guys work out, like he said. You're going to see the tape. But now it's getting to know these guys from a one-on-one perspective. And you will learn some things throughout the combine, too. You'll be able to hone in a few things. Let's keep listening here.
Yeah, I think that between Brad and myself, the success we've had in places that we've been has really been that way, and that's what it comes from. Man, you want to be a good team, you have to draft well, and then you re-sign those guys. I mean, that's your core, and then you find the right pieces of free agents.
I don't know what's going on here, but it's almost like they tried to end it. I think we missed a big part of this. I think that they came late because he started open it up to questions right away. But I was live when they were live, so we'll keep listening here, then we'll talk about it afterwards.
To fill in with. So we both believe that, and so I think you got to be careful. You want to go spend top dollar on a free agent that's not your own. You want to know everything about that player before you bring him into your locker room. I mean, you can see the tape, all these, but whereas your own guys, you pay top dollar for your own guys that are worthy from production because you know everything about them, right? So it's something we believe in. It's something that we're going to continue to do.
All right. So he says, are you going to spend top dollar on a free agent? When you bring him into your house, you have to know everything about that guy. And conversely, when you bring guys in through the draft and you bring him into your house, you already know everything about that guy. And you've got to learn everything about that guy over the years that they've been with you when you go to re-sign them. Interesting. So, I'm going to go back and rewatch this a few times and try to figure some things out. But at first, I got to say, before I hit play again, does Dan Campbell look a little thin? Dan Campbell looks a little thin in the cheeks, like he's maybe lost a little bit of weight. Probably been hitting the gym quite a bit. He definitely doesn't look as big as he normally does. Looks healthy. Looks good. Looks rested. It's good to see because throughout the season, man, he was starting to look pretty rough. You could tell that he wasn't getting many hours of sleep or very good quality sleep throughout the season. Here we go.
Hold on one second.
We spent a lot of time asking just about your coordinators and the opportunities that we're going to have. They ultimately are back with you. How meaningful is it that you were able to have the top of your staff back with you this year? And pulling out some opportunities there.
Yeah.
If I understood the question, it was, having the opportunity to retain your staff and keeping, your staff with you this year. What does it mean? Is it meaningful to you? Man, terrible sound.
Very meaningful. The continuity of the staff. I mean, those guys, the core of the staff, no different than the core of the players has been together now since 21. And to me, that's very important. And this is the second year in a row that I didn't think I was going to be able to have them back between he and AG and some of the other coaches, and it's worked out. So we're fortunate, and I just think you're so much further along, with what you do, and you've evolved so much over a 3-year period when you're all together. Like, for example, Ben knows exactly what I'm thinking. We're to the point now where he knows exactly what I want, how I think, just like I know how he thinks. And AG and FIP, and so there's so many things that you can skip over these steps that have already been done through a 3-year period, and you're just so much more efficient, so much better. And it happens with the players too. They know what we expect. They know, and so now we're out of this. You're out of 101, you're into 401. And that's the beauty of the continuity of the staff. Obviously we added some coaches. I appreciate the guys that were here that it just wasn't a fit. And, but to be able to get Terrell Williams, somebody that I've had experience with, I think he's the best D-line coach in the league. If he's not, he's certainly right up there. I think he knows how to develop. He's got experience in game planning, and he's going to be beneficial for our guys up front. Deshae Townsend played a long time, coached a long time. He's going to be able to deliver exactly what AG wants in the back end.
There it is. Okay, so I like to pick up on some, the keys, of what they say. So what he's talking about already with Deshae Townsend and the move with Dre Bly is that he's going to be able to deliver exactly what AG wants on the back end. So a couple weeks ago, I said, I don't remember if it was the morning show. It could have been both morning show and or one of my podcast nights. But what I had said was when Aubrey Pleasant was having issues, it was because of the communication. And he was kind of going rogue in 2022. And that's why they made the move. A lot of blame was getting, passed on AG, that it's all AG's fault. It's AG's defense. But you have to look, at the microcosm here of the guys underneath AG, the guys underneath Dan Campbell and the downline of coaches. Are they doing what they're supposed to? Are they communicating what they're supposed to from AG to the defense and the other coaches? So he just confirmed that there was obviously another issue, that Dre Bly was not giving, maybe the correct marching orders to the back end to do what they're supposed to do and doing exactly what AG wanted. And I think he just confirmed that. So 2 coaches in a row that, didn't work out, weren't a fit. So I'm glad to hear him talk about that a little bit. I doubt he's going to throw anybody, underneath the bus. That's just not Dan Campbell's style. And then lastly, before I hit play again here, it's important to keep your coaches together. We've had this issue, in Detroit for years, where 3 years and out, 4 years maybe and out, that head coaches couldn't be kept around consistently, changing out the, offensive, defensive coordinator. Those are the 3 positions that have to stay the same as long as possible. All of the other coaches below them, you can get away with, making some changes here or there. To hear him say that we potentially have the best D-line coach in the league, I'm expecting a big jump this season then, and I hope that Dan Campbell can back that up. All right, let's listen some more.
And so those guys are going to be vital. And then certainly Jim O'Neill's a defensive assistant, been a coordinator in this league, and has a wealth of experience. So those guys are going to be good for us defensively, really help AG finish the vision of what we're looking for. I don't know. I do know this: the league goes in trends, and there may be something to that. There could be. We've been able to have success really over a 3-year period here, and so I think there's something to it. I do know this though: there's plenty of great coaches in this league that have not been players in the NFL. So you can find a good coach anywhere that's done it. It's just a matter of finding the right person. Hold on, right here.
I was just wondering the impact of the locker room of having Jalen Reeves-Maybin back.
Yeah, listen, I think it's huge.
Here we go, Jalen Reeves-Maybin.
And Jerm was one of those guys that he was a core player for us, and he's the best special teams player in the league. And to be able to get him back again, he was somebody who was here in 21, and then he was a free agent, goes to Houston, and then be able to get him back again last year and the production he had, all that he could bring for us as a core player, but also defensively. There's things he can do on defense for us, plays in dime, helps in third down, can rush, can cover. But to be able to get him re-signed was huge, and he's a vital part of what we do. He is part of the foundation, in my opinion.
Dan, it's been a month since the championship game. Obviously, the team's
So two quick things here. The first question by the young lady that we couldn't hear, what I think I heard was, how important or vital is it to have coaches that are former players? I think that's what she said. And Dan Campbell's answer was, he felt it was important, but you can also have coaches that are not players. It just has to be the right person. And then, of course, Jalen Reeves-Maben, he spoke about it, that he's a foundational player, a core piece of this team, that he can do more on defense, that he can cover, that he helps out in the dime packages. It's just, are we going to see it? Are we going to see it this season that Germ takes that next step? Dan Campbell believes in him. I'm going to have to believe in him until I don't. But I also believed in, a lot of other things that were supposed to happen this last season. And it was an incredible season, but man, we were just a little bit short in a few areas. Dan Campbell's going to fix that this year. So is Brad Holmes. Promise you.
You've had a month to dissect and digest everything. Is there anything you would have done different from a game management standpoint?
Oh, big one. Question is there anything different you're going to do, or is there anything different you would have done from a game management standpoint?
No, I would say, look, you're always going to, like for me, I'm always going to look back and reflect on every game that happens, and particularly the losses, those always hurt worse. And my job is to, if I can alleviate pressure, where do I do that? Where do I give our team the best chance to win? The only thing that if I could go back that I felt greedy on was at the very end of the game. And instead of just deciding what we're going to do on fourth down to hold the timeout, you can run it. And you do it on third down. And I should have waited till fourth, and at least you score, you hold on to that last timeout. But I did. I got a little bit, I thought we were going to just pop the run. And, but hindsight, if the smarter thing is that, you throw it, and at least the clock stops or you score, and you hold the timeout for one more chance, for another opportunity.
You mentioned a moment ago trends in the NFL. Trends happen with success. Your success opened the door for Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. A lot of people referenced what you did. Can you talk about your impact when you see people like Antonio getting jobs? There's a lot of it related.
So if I heard the question or the majority of it, it was they're talking about Antonio Pierce getting an opportunity and talking about the success that Dan Campbell's had. And, are they expecting some similar success from people like Antonio Pierce? And I guess, what does it mean? I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to that one because it's really hard to hear, but I have a feeling that's what they're talking about here is Antonio Pierce. We'll keep going.
Your successor.
Well, look, I would say that Antonio did a good job over there. So that speaks for him. It's not an easy situation. I've been in that as an interim, and to take over, and you're trying to do it your way, but you're trying to keep it afloat. So, but I thought he did a tremendous job. He earned that. He earned another opportunity. So, I'm sure I am part of that. As far as not that, but just hey, maybe there is a thing with the ex-players, but I think those guys have done a good job. D'Amico's done a good job. He's earned that. So I just bring it up again. You can find good coaches that are ex-players and coaches have never played the game at the NFL level. You can. So they're out there. You just got to find them.
You mentioned this. How important is that to
Yeah.
I didn't hear this question at all.
I think it's huge because, he is a depth player, but he's a starter for one of our core teams. We play with three phases, and so he's the best player in the league, and one of the three, units that we use to win games.
So it must be talking about Jalen Reeves-Maben again, and how important, if I understood the question, which I could barely hear, how important it was to have Jalen back. And Dan's, saying right away that he was one of the best in the league at one of the three core elements of the game, offense, defense, special teams, which Jalen falls into that special teams category. So a minute ago, Dan also alluded to the fact that Jalen Reeves-Maben will be able to help out, more opportunity into the defense. We'll see if it happens. We'll see where it goes. That kind of contract, I hope that's where it goes.
We don't just play with 2 units, so it was pivotal. And obviously the depth that he provides is big. And because to me, and to us, if you need him, he can go out there and you're really not going to miss a beat. He's smart, he's physical, he's tough, he's crafty, he's a ball guy. So, Brad and I both believe that depth is important. Depth is very important, more so than maybe this is the guy, you can check the box, true starter.
So again, another thing that I've been talking about for weeks now is depth, mid-tier guys, depth, mid-tier guys. I keep talking about it. And not only is it a philosophy that I kind of believe in too, but I've kind of learned this more through Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, that you're only as good as your depth. Here's the smoke and mirrors potentially. Is Dan Campbell setting this up? And we're going to hear from Brad Holmes at 4 p.m. And let's see how much similar talk paths they have. But is he setting this up right now to kind of tell us that, we're only going after depth guys. We're going to build the depth. We're going to find our starters in the draft. And then they pull the trigger on that one guy that checks all the boxes. I don't know. It's going to take a minute to try to figure this out. And I doubt that I will. So I'll be just as surprised as you guys. But right now we're understanding one thing. We know that they're targeting depth guys. Expect heavy free agency, mid-tier signings is what I'm gathering so far. Here we go.
And you've got nobody else to follow. We would rather have the depth because this league, everybody gets hurt. That's just the nature of it. We've gone through it for 3 years. But it's very important to us. And they got to be the right guys, and they got to be players that do. They fit a certain role. Yeah, look, it's been a long time. How you doing? Good. Man, I would say it's hard because
he doesn't want to
he was
answer
coming
this.
off the injury. He didn't get to play, but he got a ton of, by the end of the year, call it, probably 4 months, not 4 months, 3 months, somewhere there of practice time, and did a lot of the scout team, learned from Teddy Bridgewater, Jared Goff, and so 7-on-7, a few team reps, good on good. And the best I can tell you is there's growth. We saw growth. And that's encouraging. That's all we can ask at this point. So I don't think we entirely know what he is yet. There's not enough evidence. But I know this, we saw progress, and that's what we're looking for.
All right, so the question was about Hendon Hooker. And what have they noticed about Hendon Hooker? If I could hear any of it, it was that part of it. What do they believe Hendon Hooker is? I'll have to go back and mess with the volume to try to listen to it. But Dan Campbell did not want to answer this question. And he starts right off by, saying, hey, been a long time. How are you? Blah, 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 blah. That's Dan Campbell. Smiling, laughing because he doesn't want to answer this question. He's surprised that he probably got the question. But as you heard, they don't know everything yet on Hendon Hooker. And this is one of those moments, during the press conference at the Combine where these types of answers are going to spark debate. It's going to get everybody talking. And that's probably why Dan Campbell's laughing, because he knows this is probably going to be one of the first things printed. Well, probably already happening right now. But let's continue on.
Come to you. Yeah, I would say there's some ad lib. And I can't say that you're using the same ad lib questions for every player, but I think more importantly, you want to know what happens if you throw a wrench into the cog. How they handle that. I think helps a little bit. And look, I bring this up every time. So much about this process this time of year, we only get 20 minutes with them. And then even in the informals too, so you only have so much time. But what you can do is eliminate the guys that man, this guy's got it. You know, like Jack Campbell, we mentioned it last year. We knew within 15, 20 minutes, okay, he can figure ball out, and he loves ball. He knows it. You know, he can problem solve. So you can check him off the box. Let's go on to the next one. And so just to be able to check some of these guys off, like, okay, we know these guys got it. They understand it, man. There's something about them mentally. And that way you can start focusing on the other. You like the tape, but, man, what is the FBI really? Do we really know? And so that's why this is vital.
All right, so for those that don't know, FBI, football intelligence, and great point here. Something that everyone should pay attention to this offseason is they're going to focus their attention on the guys that need the most help, that needs the most understanding of just who that player is. So from what he just said, Jack Campbell last season, great experiment here. He knew that Jack Campbell was the guy within that first interim informal type meeting. He can figure ball out. He understands it. He's a football guy, very heady. So now you're not going to waste your time on Jack Campbell anymore during this process. You already know this is a guy you love. Go spend the time on the tape to make sure that he is exactly what you want. So when you see the Lions bringing in these players, setting up these meetings with these players, it's because they don't know enough about them. These are the players that they need to learn more about. So what does this mean? To me, it means that the guys that are on the radar are really off the radar. It's the guys that they're not talking about. It's the guys that they're not bringing in that are going to be more closely, given an opportunity to become a Detroit Lion. Does that make sense? Do you understand where I'm going with that? If they're not spending a lot of time with, let's say they're at pick 5, and Marvin Harrison is right there. They're not even bringing Marvin Harrison in for a meeting. That probably means they already know enough to know if they select him at 5, he's a perfect fit. Does that make sense now? That's where I'm going with this. And I think that's what Dan Campbell's trying to explain too. Without giving too much away, he gives just enough to figure out a few things.
You mentioned the staff on that staff. Like, in terms of empowering those coordinators and having them handle the calls on game day, what do you like about that?
Yeah, well, look, I think every coach on our staff, to me, I want them to feel like they're the head coach of their own room.
Question sounded like, your coaches that you have currently on the staff, like how comfortable are you with them in a game type situation? I want to say that was the question. I'm not for sure. Let's listen to Dan.
They need to feel that way. And I think it's important that you don't micromanage. You set the tone, you set the terms for what you're looking for, and let them do their job. And I feel like our coordinators do that in the front of the room, and so do our position coaches. And to me, I think of staff no different than the players. Everybody's got a job, everybody's got a role, and all their strengths combined make us a very good unit. You know, we all complement each other. I actually learned it from that guy right there. So,
Coach Joe Philbin was a big part of your coaching journey. He's now with the Raiders. What can Raiders fans expect to get from Joe?
I'm sorry, say again.
Joe Philbin was.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can tell you this. Joe is as detailed as they come. He's very methodical. He's very detailed. There's nothing that's going to get overlooked. And he's going to make sure that that everybody around him, the coaches to the players, thinks that way. Like there is nothing that he is not going to see, and because that's big to him. Details mean everything for him. So, and he's a grinder.
I think the question was, they were talking about Joe Philbin, worked with Dan Campbell and now a member of the Raiders organization. What are the Raiders going to get out of this gentleman? And he answered it. Philippines, in how many hours does the combine start? Starts officially tomorrow.
I mean, Coach Philbin's a grinder, so you're going to get a guy who understands ball, he grinds, and he is very, very detail-oriented. Well, I think probably the biggest thing is just having, you've been in their shoes in different situations. You've been in their shoes during training camp, after 2 or 3 weeks of practice.
Question was, what is it? What's the difference between being a former player and a head coach, and what you can offer your players with having that experience? It's kind of what he asked.
It's the second two-a-day, which it's really not two-a-days anymore, but you understand what that's like. You understand after the game. You understand disappointment. You understand on a whole different level, but when you don't have a good game, or the media is on you, or your fans are on you, or you kind of understand the pressures of it, the lifestyle of it, and I think that kind of helps you understand where they're at too, and so you can deal with them on much more of a psychological level than just X's and O's and personal. I think you just know what that's like, and I think you can, by the way you talk to them, by the way you handle them, you can relate to them in that regard.
Love that answer. Dan Campbell is so respected by his players, largely because he understands them and he gets them on a different level.
For the team as a whole, is there something that can be gained from the way the season ended, whether it's motivation, whatever?
Question is there something that can be gained from the way that the season ended?
Or is it irrelevant going forward for this team and their mindset?
No, I think that absolutely, I think we can benefit from it. Like, to me, you should benefit from every loss. I think that if the losses they don't motivate you to not lose again, and for sure to not lose an NFC Championship game, then something's wrong. Like, to me, that's the ultimate. I mean, you just don't want to have that feeling anymore. Like, you should do whatever it takes not to want to feel that. So you absolutely would benefit from that.
Dan, how are you satisfied with the and where do you see him going forward beyond that?
Yeah, he progressed, and when he was able to come back off, when we got him, week 4 of the season after he had the suspension.
Question was Jameson Williams. How did you feel about his progress during the season? That's kind of what he said, but we'll hear from Dan here.
And all we asked of him was growth. Just get better. Just get a little bit better, and just become one of the guys, somebody that we can rely on in this offense. Just do your job, and that's exactly what he did. And you can see by the end of the year, we really felt like he started to come into his own, and he is going to push to be a full-time starter now, and that's what we're looking for. And we said it before, everybody grows at a different rate, and maybe it's taken him a little bit longer, but he is developing and he's growing, and he is certainly one of the team. The kids come on, so we got high hopes for him. We see him continuing to grow as long as he gets back and puts the work in, like we believe he will, because he's shown that. He's only going to get better and better and better.
So I think that makes a lot of us feel better about Jameson Williams. And, we've spoken about that a lot, about his progress and the way that he's taken a little bit of time to kind of figure it out. And Dan Campbell said it best, some people just grow at different paces. Not everybody has the same, I guess they don't all grow at the same rate. You don't just get it day one and, everybody gets it day one. Sometimes it takes a little bit. Jameson Williams has gone through a ton, and you guys know I've been more than critical on the guy, but I've also given him, all the attaboys that he deserves too, for doing the right things. And Dan Campbell spot on, saying, look, this guy just needed to be one of the guys. Jameson just needed to be one of the guys. He just needed to get better. And he did. And now it's finally showing up in his work on the field. One of the best blockers downfield as a wide receiver. Finally starting to feel comfortable catching the ball over the middle. And this season, sky's the limit. But here's the biggest thing that he just said. Full-time starter. So we're expecting right now that Jameson is the number 2. Based on that comment alone, we'll see what happens.
I really didn't know. Here's what I know about Ben. Like, Ben's not when Ben is focused on this, he's focused on this, and nothing's going to move that for him. And so once this item is done, he can close it, then he'll move on to the next one. So, I don't know the whole interview process, all those, but I know this. His whole focus was on helping us win, and it wasn't about preparing for interviews. And so I guess you just never know how they're going to play out. I know this. He's more than capable of being a head coach. He's qualified.
I don't know about you, but I'm glad he didn't prepare for interviews. I'm glad he's still here in Detroit.
By the way people have hired in this league before, he's more than qualified. But here's what I love about Ben. Ben's not going to do anything that he doesn't want to do, that he really wants to do, or that he doesn't feel like he's ready for. So I'm glad we got him back. He's one of us.
Dan, there's a lot of people that are not going to say he can't run a Can you talk about him as a leader and how he progressed this season and even how he responded to that loss of play?
Yeah. I don't look, and I get it because it hasn't happened yet. I mean, just people saying that, but I don't get it because, take the NFC Championship game. I thought he played good game for us. He gave us a chance to win that, and I just feel like, man, since he's been here, I've seen a quarterback who's gotten better and better and better and has grown every year.
So the question was talking about Jared Goff, his growth, how he took the loss there at the end of the season. And that's about all I heard. But this is supposed to be the last question too.
I would say who's gotten better under pressure every year and really just rise to the challenge. And he's more and more confident. He's more comfortable. So I've said this before. To me, Jared Goff is a winning quarterback. You can win. You can win in this league with that guy, and you can't say that for a lot of guys. So I'm glad that he's here. I'm glad he's ours, and you could argue he's grown more than a lot of players we've had. People don't always see that, but he really has, man. For a guy who's been in this league a little bit but has continued to improve, it's a credit to him. All right, thanks.
All right. So the one thing that I'm sick and tired of about Jared Goff is
no respect.
Nobody has any darn respect for the guy. And that's got to stop this year. You've heard it from Dan Campbell. I mean, we went to the NFC title game, for God's sakes. And a lot of that is because of Jared Goff's work ethic. And he is a great quarterback. So good question to end on, because this is a defining season for everybody on this team. Jared Goff has played excellent, darn near flawless the last couple of seasons. I mean, the three best seasons he's had as a pro was the year he took the Rams to the Super Bowl, and these last two seasons with the Detroit Lions. He's played at Super Bowl caliber level both of these seasons in 22 and 23. But you heard Dan. Jared Goff has grown just as much, if not more, than anybody else on this team. Does well under the pressure. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand why Jared Goff gets, painted into a box that he doesn't deserve to be painted into. He's the leader of this team. Clearly, they're going to do something, about his contract. One of the questions that I'm going to have tomorrow, if not tonight, we'll see. I still got to kind of go through my list is, are they going to extend him this year or are they not? And I was so sure that they were going to. Now, I was 100% positive they wouldn't even touch it until this offseason. And we've heard about it now, that they're going to do it. But now I'm beginning to question, are they really going to do it? Are they just going to wait until next offseason and potentially take a chance of losing Goff, which I don't think Goff wants to go anywhere, but you guys know as well as I do, when somebody's in control of your financials from an agent perspective, now he could fire his agent, but they kind of pull the strings. And I don't see any other team that Goff really wants to play for, but I see a few teams that would definitely overpay for Goff services. He's worth a max deal. Whether you call that $50 million a year, $55 million a year, $45 million a year, he's worth a max deal, and he will stay in Detroit for the long term. I do believe. I don't believe that Hendon Hooker is ever going to take the field as a starter unless something happens to Jared Goff, meaning injury. but I don't think that we're going to see Hendon Hooker take the field as a starter at any time. And no, I do not believe that Hendon Hooker will ever become trade bait. That just doesn't make sense. You want to keep your guys in house. I mean, clearly they've said it time and time and time again. They're not willing to go out and get these big price free agents. They would rather, grow their own. And that's what they're doing through the draft. And look, it speaks volume. And the credit to Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and everybody in the back office there in Allen Park. They're doing an excellent job providing opportunity for, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes to go out and get the players that they want. And in the draft and all of the work that goes into it, all of the scouts, I mean, they have such an incredible job to do. And without them and without Brad Holmes' mysterious talent that we don't know what it is yet because the guy is just so good at just about everything he does, they're putting a very high quality program on the field. And it's about time. So loved his press conference today. Some good nuggets in there. You can tell that he's trying not to give us too much, but I'm going to go back and watch it a couple of times and try to figure out, what's Dan Campbell going to do this year? What's up Brad Holmes' sleeve? And we'll find out more about that. We'll be back here at 4 p.m. And actually about 3:45, 3:55. We'll be waiting for Brad Holmes to take the stage. So until this afternoon, when Brad Holmes comes on live, that's all for me right now. A couple questions here or statements. Al Torrey says he's got a great offense to play with. Why would he want to leave? Exactly. Yeah, I don't think Jared Goff is going anywhere. He's under contract through next year anyway. That's why I'm questioning, are they going to get it done this year? Or is Jared Goff comfortable playing this season knowing that they're promising him more than likely, hey, if we don't do it this year, and these are the reasons why we would really like to get these players, we'll get it done next year. But you guys also seen me this morning where I explained you can still get him done and everybody else done and still have about the same amount of cap that you do now. So I don't know. I'm kind of lost with this one. I'm surprised that it's taking this long for, the big deal to get done. Philippines, I can't see the rest of your name. I apologize. This chat. Oh, there we go. Philippines on demand. There we go. Says, so there it is. Will his loyalty keep him in Detroit, or will he follow the money out of town? I think that he's going to stay. I really do. Mike, the Marine guy, says, thanks. Hit the like button. Appreciate you. And of course, to all of our service members out there, we certainly appreciate your service to this great country, or whatever country you may serve, because we know that we get people from all over the world that watch this channel. So with whatever military you're in, we certainly appreciate your service to this country. It does not go unnoticed. I think that's it. We didn't get a ton of comments in here today, not a whole lot of statements. But hey, what did you guys think overall of Dan Campbell today? What did you think of the direction? Did he point us anywhere? I know we didn't get the over-under right on the grit, but he did talk about Jalen Reeves-Maben and said that he's a foundational player. Been with the team since 21. He was gone in 22. They got him back. In my opinion, I'm sorry, they way overpaid for him, but he has some value. Dan Campbell said that he does provide some opportunity to have an expanded role in the defense. And maybe that's the plan. So maybe this year, Jalen Reeves-Maben is going to jump into more of a dual role, not just a special teamer, but somebody that is going to be involved in the trick plays, special teams, but more of the defensive side of the ball. So I guess right now we can put, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Jack Campbell, Jalen Reeves-Maben as our top linebackers for the season right now. And then you got Derek Barnes as well. So we'll see what happens. Philippines on Demand, tell you a little bit more about my channel. This channel it started as Rocked On Podcast Network and Sports Media Group with plans to expand to do all 32 NFL teams. And that's still the plan. It's just really hard to find people that will put in the energy and the time that I do to really go in and put forth the effort to put quality content together. I've been through a learning phase over the last year, and now I feel like I'm just now starting to get to a point where things are coming a little bit easier. So this channel's actually going to change to just Rocked On Detroit Lions channel. And then I'm going to transfer everything over to the Rocked On Podcast Network landing channel. And that's where you'll have all the different playlists for all of the teams. So there will be a small change. Just stick with me. Don't feel like you lost me because it will show up differently. And I plan on doing that here probably right around the time free agency starts. I'll put out plenty of messages so you guys know it's coming. I don't want you to think that that I'm gone. And I hope it doesn't hurt the algorithm. I don't think it will, but I hope it doesn't. Steve K says, will Germ's contract, or with Germ's contract, it says to me that they are willing to pay a little bit more for the homies. That's a good point, man. If they're going to overpay for their own guys, then I'd say we're in trouble cap-wise, honestly, because that means that St. Brown's probably going to get a $26 million deal. That means Goff's going to get a $50 million deal, and I'm talking APY. That means Penei Sewell could get a $28 million deal. Aleem McNeil could get an $18 million deal. I mean, we're talking big numbers. And then you've got Aiden Hutchinson to follow that up in 2 more seasons. So after next year, Aiden Hutchinson will be up for an extension. So we could be in trouble cap-wise. El Tori says maybe a little hint that we are not looking for a linebacker in the draft and free agency. I guess I wouldn't hold your breath on not getting one in the draft. There's a couple of pretty good linebackers in the later rounds that we definitely need to round out, the big money guys. So right now you've got $10 million a year wrapped up between Alex Anzalone and Jalen Reeves-Maben, and you have about $4 million a year on Jack Campbell. So you got $14 million a year on your 3 linebackers. And I want to say that Malcolm Rodriguez is right around that $1.5 million mark per year, maybe somewhere close to that. So you're going to have to round it out with a lower tiered contract, which would be like a 4th, 5th, 6th rounder. And I know we don't have a 4th round pick, but I'm not putting it past Brad Holmes not to get one before the draft, during the draft. Mike the Marine guy says Germ had the highest contract with 10, $7.5 million, 2 years, now $7.5 million, $8 million incentive, 2 years, no difference. I'm not following you there. You talking about with Tennessee? His contract was, I want to say, it was a few years ago. But he also was not, hold on here. Yeah, I'm not following you on that one. I'll have to dig back into that one later. Philippines On Demand says it's hard to say who we will target in the draft. A lot of it depends on the free agency, I would imagine. You are correct. A lot of it starts this week with the combine, and we'll get some more answers. So Donovan Amos says they said that they are pushing for JMO to be the wide receiver number 2. So I don't see them going out there to out of their way to re-sign Reynolds for $5 million. It's a good point. So does that mean that they're going to try to lock up DPJ? Is Traquan Smith now having a bigger opportunity to make the team? Those are all questions that are going to be answered soon. But here's what I will say. When you drop one in the bucket, you have to drop one out. So if JMO is now making his way to a full-time starter as our number 2, we need to find somebody in the draft. I would not put it past Brad Holmes to go and find a receiver in the 3rd round. There's plenty of good receivers until the combine happens, because I feel like Brendan Rice, Leggett, both of those guys are going to shoot up the board, in my opinion. We'll see. We'll see what happens on Monday, because that's when a lot of it will start to pour out. But that's all for today. I've got a meeting here at noon that I've got to get to. I appreciate you guys joining me for the live look watch party on Dan Campbell's press conference at the 2024 NFL Combine. We'll see you guys back here around 3:45, 3:55 when we watch Brad Holmes. And then we'll be live again tonight, the 4th one of the day, off the cuff, doing some not so quite roster breakdowns, but I'm going to look at some of the top prospects that are on my list. All right, y'all. We'll check you out here in a couple hours. Take care. Bye-bye.